Earlier this spring, high school students in Saranac Lake launched a weather balloon. It floated tens of thousands of feet over the Adirondacks, over Lake Champlain, and onto someone's driveway in eastern Vermont.
We found your educational project, and it said the contact number is found. So this is just me letting you know that we found your project. It landed in my driveway in White River Junction, Vermont. Thank you.
The balloon was mailed back to Saranac Lake with all its data. What that balloon found as it floated across the North Country on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And the Devlin Inn and Suites, Lake Placid, welcoming families, athletes, and groups to the Olympic Village, offering Adirondack mountain views and dog-friendly accommodations. TheDevlinNY.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, June 3rd. First up, Massena's Town Planning Board is currently considering whether to approve a controversial data center in town. It would consume 635 megawatts of power. It's huge. Well, state legislators are poised to pass a one-year moratorium on all new data center projects in New York before they leave Albany this week. Samuel King with the New York Public News Network reports the last-minute legislation is a compromise after advocates proposed a 3-year ban.
The moratorium would be the first of its kind in the country, and groups held rallies at the Capitol calling for a hold on data centers. Cheryl Cordes traveled to Albany from the town of Alabama in Genesee County, where a major data center is planned.
And we don't want it.
The last-minute bill would put in place a one-year moratorium on new data center projects, require an environmental impact study on data center development in New York, and require developers to minimize wastewater or infrastructure impacts on communities. But those opposed to the moratorium are making a lobbying push of their own. Smith Anderson is executive director of the Digital Power Network, a coalition of Bitcoin miners and digital infrastructure leaders.
There's already protections, and you already have to go through a lot of permitting review processes to build any infrastructure of this size. So a moratorium is just a signal to folks saying, we're not open for business here in New York.
Governor Kathy Hochul would have to sign off on the moratorium while not commenting on this specific legislation. She has said she is looking intensely at the issue and that data centers need to manage their own energy costs without burdening local ratepayers. In Albany, I'm Samuel King for the New York Public News Network.
Hundreds of athletes are headed to Oneida County for the state Summer Special Olympics. Athletes compete in everything from basketball and powerlifting to swimming and track and field. Elaine Lindsay of Utica has participated in the Special Olympics for about 20 years, including swimming, track and field, long-distance snowshoeing. She says she likes the competition, but also appreciates the camaraderie.
You meet new people, new coaches, new friends, you help out. I love it. I have my son doing it too. He does Special Olympics too, and my husband. So it's almost like a family thing.
The New York Special Olympics Summer Games take place this Friday and Saturday at Utica University and other venues in the Utica area. Organizers say they still need volunteers. The weather balloon that landed in Vermont was mailed back to Chris Gosling, the science teacher in Saranac Lake who led this class experiment. Emily Russell went to his classroom to learn more about the experiment and the lessons Gosling and his students learned along the way.
High-altitude balloons are used all the time, mostly by meteorologists and the National Weather Service to collect atmospheric data, temperature, pressure, wind speeds, stuff like that, to help with weather forecasting. We wanted to see if we could collect high-quality data too, and also some imagery. From my perspective, I wanted the students to learn things like coding and talking about buoyancy and how to work with computers and how to build things, how to make predictions and learn about airflow patterns and all kinds of things, and then to weigh all these variables to decide when we should launch.
So the high-altitude balloon that you did launch is here. Can you just kind of take me through briefly just the parts that make this whole system work and what's included inside?
Sure thing. So the red thing here is a parachute, and that kind of goes in the middle of the train. On the way up, it doesn't do anything. On the way down, it provides drag so that it doesn't come down too fast. This big kind of tan latex balloon is a weather balloon. That holds the helium and provides all the lift. It's connected to the parachute by string, and then the parachute is connected with another string to the payload. And then in the payload itself, I know y'all can't see this, but it's bright pink. The students chose the color, and it's got a little tag on the inside and outside saying that it's an educational science project. It has all my contact information on it. On the outside, you see a radio antenna that's designed to broadcast a radio signal so that we can track it. There's a camera peeking through the side. There's a temperature, humidity, and pressure sensor that's connected to a Raspberry Pi microcomputer on the inside. That Raspberry Pi device is also connected to a GPS that tells it where it is. And then inside, there's also a battery pack that keeps the whole shebang running.
Smaller than a shoebox, but it's a box made of, styrofoam, so it's really light?
It is, exactly. It's a cooler that we ordered, and then once it got here, the students cut it down so that we could drop some weight. The goal is to have the lightest payload possible so that we could send it up to the highest elevation.
Helium is an important part of this equation because it lifts the balloon up, but I understand that there were some questions about pricing of helium because of what's happening in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz.
Exactly, and we actually got pretty lucky. In the past, it's been really hard to get helium, period. There were moments when in certain years we couldn't have gotten this project off the ground, literally, because we just didn't have a reliable source of helium. And the quality of helium also matters. The more pure, the better, because when it's not pure, you don't get as much lift. So we were able to get a tank of helium, luckily, and then after the Strait of Hormuz was shut down, the helium prices spiked dramatically. So in that sense, we were really lucky to get the helium tank when we did.
What was one of the most interesting pieces of data that you got, or maybe some of the photos that students got to see?
We got really good data. By far the best stuff that I've ever gotten as part of one of these projects. The imagery was fantastic. We got to such a high altitude that we could easily see the curvature of the Earth, and that was really neat. And then also the analysis of the elevation data showed us really well how our ascent and descent rates were doing, and that the average ascent rate turned out to be 1.79 meters per second for the whole thing, which is definitely lower than 5. And then on the way down also, it came down way faster than we expected. I think maybe the balloon, when it burst, got wrapped up in the parachute somehow. So that was great. And then also the barometric pressure, we saw that the sensor recorded almost 0, which was great. And all of this is unexpected because when we let the thing go with no lid, basically we launched it into a cloud, and it was really humid. The first pictures are just gray because it's getting all this water vapor from the cloud. And then it got to something like negative 45 degrees Celsius as it was going. So everything was really cold. And if you had told me that this little Raspberry Pi computer could manage through such a cold and wet environment, I would have been surprised. I wasn't sure that it was going to keep functioning. We had the backup spot tracker, which uses a satellite system, so that was great, but I didn't expect us to be able to get data mid-flight like we did.
Why do you think these kinds of pretty laborious and expensive science experiments are important for students to work through and be a part of?
I mean, I think there are just so many skills that they have to develop. And not everybody mastered every skill, but to be able to think about, okay, how is the coding going to work? What do we need to do to learn this language of programming to be able to interface with this? And then how do radio signals work? And what does it mean to build an antenna? And the project is a long one and an expensive one, and it really took a ton of effort on all of our parts. But I think the students really got some opportunities here to do real science. And when we shared our data and imagery with people who do this for a living, they were really excited to see the quality of the stuff that we produced.
That was Chris Gosling, a science teacher at Saranac Lake High School, speaking with Emily Russell. Gosling students are presenting their project to the Saranac Lake School Board at its meeting tonight. Music today by Caitlin Scholl of Lake Placid and the Buskers Band of Alexandria Bay. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.